There's a couple of interesting changes on the market this time around, so let's take a look. Hey guys, Tiger back with another market watch, and today we're going to be talking about a handful of things. There's a couple of cards that are just moving in the upward direction, but for the first time in a minute, I'm actually going to be talking about cards that are moving downward. I think it's good to know when cards are moving downward, maybe even why, and whether or not it's worth talking about that maybe picking them up now is something in our interest. But also, the Battles of Legends early pack opening videos just went up, so we're going to talk about some cards that maybe haven't changed in price yet, but they will most definitely when the set drops, and whether or not it's worth picking these cards up. Before we do though, I have noticed that a great deal of you that are currently watching this video are not subscribed to the channel, so if you like competitive based content, in-depth guides, and market watches, consider subscribing to the channel for more. But also don't forget to leave a comment on this video and comment for what cards I should talk about in next week's market watch. And if you want to further support the channel, consider joining my community Discord, following me over on Twitch, and using my TCG affiliate link or my Dueling Guard affiliate link. All links will be in the description down below. Alright, so it should probably come to nobody's surprise that Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, the quarter century rare, it has alt art and regular art of the quarter century rare, are jumping in price. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is most certainly one of those cards that fluctuates in price simply because how lazy people want to side deck. This is a card that will just automatically win the game in time if games are consistently going to time rules. We saw a lot of this in the Snake Eye format because Lacrima was consistently like burning for games, so people had to find ways to counteract that, which is why Lacrima was banned. But once again, Spooky Dogwood is going up in price, and it now has two quarter century rare artworks, and it's about $27 a copy right now for the original artwork, and it is vaguely the same for the alt artwork. I personally like the alt artwork more, but you know, to each their own. There's not really much to talk about with this card. It's just simply people are buying this up because it's the highest possible rarity for a card that can basically just win a game on the spot in terms of time. I think anytime Spooky Dogwood is in the format or even under consideration, it's not typically a very good format, simply because that means either games are going to time, something that I don't think should ever happen ever, or people are using it to counter against the slow players. Just regardless, if Spooky Dogwood is seeing circulation, I just don't think it's ever a good thing. Next card we are going to talk about is Tenpai Dragon Genroku, the QCR specifically. The ultra rare is about $7-8, but the QCR is trending in the upward direction because Tenpai is seeing play again. It is funny enough seeing play in Dragon Rulers because Dragon Rulers Chasma is a rank 7 and Tenpai Dragons specialize in making level 7 synchros. So typically if you don't see any of your Dragon Rulers, you can just go for the Tenpai engine, make 2 level 7s, make the rank 7 Chasma, and then Chasma can get you into the rest of the deck. Or if you see your main deck, then Chasma can send a Floodgate in a Morphage Sloth, something we talked about in a previous market watch. But the QCR Genroku is trending in the upward direction, about $40 a copy. Typically they run about 1 or 2 depending on the player, but realistically it's typically a one-of because they don't want to run a huge expansive Tenpai engine. But this card in ultra rare is about $7-8 and not trending upward in the slightest. Next we are going to be talking about Malice. Malice is a deck that most of the community doesn't like, or for the most part it's either you're on one end of the spectrum or the other. You either really love this deck or you really hate this deck. There's really no in between, and some of the most expensive cards in the deck have been Malice White Rabbit, March Hare, backup at Ignister, and the deck's going down in price. This is due in part to a couple of things. One, Malice, funny enough, has not been seeing the success that everyone thought it, myself included, that everyone thought it was going to be seeing post-Alliance Insight. In fact, it's getting its ass kicked this format. Now, Malice is still topping. It is still a very competent deck and probably one of the like top 3 decks in the format, but it's not winning events. It's I think won a couple of regionals, something that is hard for it to do, and that's because there's a lot of silver bullets for the deck. The deck bricks a lot. The deck loses to too many forms of interaction. The deck loses to one very specific form of interaction, which is Artifact Lancia. It doesn't really lose to Chaos Hunter anymore because they have Bomber Dragon and whatnot, but because of its lack of success and how many silver bullets it has, there are a lot of people jumping off the train. Also, its worst matchup is Mitsurugi, which is the best deck in the room. Not to mention, on top of that, Mitsurugi is vastly cheaper than Malice has been ever. Malice, because it's a waifu deck, the price has always been kind of inflated. And due in part to that, why would you play the second or third best deck in the room that's the most expensive deck in the room when you could be playing the best deck in the room, which is like half the price? Thanks to the fact that the Mitsurugi cards are, for the most part, low rarity, and you don't have to be playing 3 of every single one of the cards because it could be just a subsidiary engine in something like Ryzeal. The expensive cards are also just low ratio. So the deck is vastly cheaper. So people are, for the most part, jumping ship to the more successful and cheaper deck. And as a result, people are starting to sell the Malice cards. And so White Rabbit, which was about $25 prior to, or like right after the ban list that put it to 2, it's about $8 now. This card has been very steadily decreasing ever since we got that ban list, and has not been seeing a jump since. Even Malice and Underground, it's about a $5-6 card. This was like $15 when I went to the regional that I talked about in a most recent video. So this card is also tanking in price, but it doesn't stop there. If we look here at the allied code at Ignister, on release, this was a $20 card. It is a $3 card now. I definitely went neg on this. I spent $20 on this card, and it is down to $3. Unfortunate, but, you know, that's the nature of the game. Sometimes you end up spending more money than you had to. That's just kind of how things work out. But again, we're not done there. Back up at Ignister was a about $20-$25 card on release. It is $10 now at most. Like, realistically, this is like $8-9. And so, again, this is tanking in price. But we're not done there. March Hare, which was about a $60 card up until like 2 weeks ago, is also on the decline. And it is down to $33. This is probably the most expensive card. Well, actually, that's not true. This is probably the most expensive main engine card in the deck. The most expensive card in the deck is Dominus Impulse, which is on a slight decline. I think it's at like $60 right now. But this is due in part, again, to a lot of people jumping ship from Malice. They're moving over to Mitsurugi because that is the more successful deck. It is vastly cheaper. People are just trying to make up the money that they lost investing into Malice. And on top of that, we are expecting to, theoretically, there's nothing guaranteed by any means, but people are expecting to see at least one more Forbidden Limited list before Worlds, because it just, the timeline kind of fits. And because of that, people are thinking that Malice is going to kind of get bitch slapped, same with Ryzeal, because they want to make room for Justice Hunters and Duelist Advance. Both sets of which will kind of bring in a new age of the format and bring in 3 new very powerful decks. And so it would only make sense that if Konami wants to sell that product, they make way for those decks to be successful. So a lot of people are theorizing that Malice and Ryzeal are going to kind of be knocked out of the format by that point in the game. So people are trying and make their money back as much as possible. So and again, Malice, out of the top 3 decks, which is like Ryzeal, Mitsurugi of any variation, and Malice is probably the more unsuccessful version because it has more silver bullets. It's a very hard deck too on top of that. So it does take good pilots to be able to perform with it. So there's just a lot going against the deck. It's silver bullets. It's a hard, like really high ceiling deck. And just overall, it does brick quite often. So a lot of people are just not seeing it as the play anymore. On the topic of Ryzeal, though, I did want to mention how Star Ryzeal is just tanking in price. This card wasn't projected to be the most expensive card out of Alliance Insight by any means, because Ryzeal was only projecting to run about 1 of this. I have seen some lists run 2. I don't agree with it, but this is a 1 of in the deck, and it's not like the most sought after because some people just aren't running it at all. So this card was about $15-20 pre-release. I think it went down to $10 after the set dropped, and this card is $2 now. I think this is worth picking up. I think Ryzeal will not be completely butchered. Same with Malice. I don't think either deck will be completely butchered after a Forbidden Limited list. If anything, like, they'll backtrack maybe like some of the semi-limits, and then they'll like hard limit to actually like hit the deck rather than just the consistency hits that they did on the last list. But also, if we look at like the OCG, Malice is still like one of the top decks in the OCG, or at the very least one of the more represented decks, and because of that, seeing success because they only have one Dormouse in the OCG, so they're making it work. But I think like picking up Malice and Ryzeal, while they're as cheap as they are not like the worst decision. That being said, Malice does come with the problem that if you want to pick it up, you're probably getting Dominus Impulse, and that is the most expensive card in the deck. That's about $180 to $200 for the playset, just for that card alone. Whereas you could play Mitsurugi Ryzeal, not have to buy a single Dominus card because the deck can't run either of them, and it comes out to about, I would imagine, $200-300 at most, and I'm probably way highballing that. All right, let's talk about the Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem, shall we? So as of recording this video, the early box openings just went up like an hour ago, so I imagine the prices for any of the cards in that set have not changed at all because the videos have been up for like an hour or 2 hours. So take everything I'm looking at with a bit of a grain of salt, but expect that a lot of this stuff will go down. So that being said, as we have seen in the pack openings, you are guaranteed one Orcust, Dragon Maid, or Punk card that have a stamp on it. Not every Orcust card in the Orcust archetype is in the set, nor do they have stamps on it. But if you do pull these cards, I do think the stamps actually look pretty cool. I also think that maybe on immediate release, the stamps won't go up in price, but Orcust especially is an archetype that is a fan favorite. It's been a fan favorite for ever, like toss format ever. And because of that, I think the stamps will age well in the sense that it will only go up in price. The cards you really want to be looking at from this set is Orcust Harpor, Orcust Crescendo, Galatea. I think Long Girsu also got a stamp, and then Orchestrated Babel, which is not on this list here. They all got stamps, and again, they're all ultra rare. They all have stamps, and I think it can only go up in price. So if you are a Orcust fan, and you probably already plan to, but I would highly recommend picking up the stamps in all the ratio you needed. That being said, Galatea already has a QCR and an ultimate rare. Harp Horror already has a QCR, so those two might not go up in price, but I still think it's worth picking up. In general, if you want to play the Orcust deck, because it is one of the better decks in the OCG, so I imagine it's going to have some meta relevance, or at the very least, it's just going to have enough representation that they're going to kind of force it into the format. I think it's worth picking up the cards you need to pick up now. Still on the topic, though, of the Battles of Legend Monster Mayhem, oh my god, Konami, big thumbs up. You did a good job. So we already knew that Lordly Load was going to see a reprint in Monster Mayhem. They announced this months ago, but I was not expecting Ether Barrel to be in the set. Ether Barrel is not even a year old yet. It came out in Rage of the Abyss, which came out, I think, January or February this year. So it's only a couple months old, but big thumbs up, Konami. You did good. They reprinted in Monster Mayhem the entire Primite engine. Lordly Load, Drill Beam, and Ether Barrel in the set. Ether Barrel and Drill Beam are getting rarity bumps. They are not ultras. They are secret rares, and Lordly Load, I think, is an ultra rare. So they did good. Like, they have my seal of approval for sure, because they totally needed that. Now, Ether Barrel was kind of already, like, fairly low. It's looking at about, like, $11-12. Drill Beam, or sorry, Lordly Load is at $27, $29, $30-ish, and then Drill Beam is looking at like $5. Unless you have a regional this weekend as recording this video, don't pick up these cards. Wait until the set drops. These cards are going to be dirt cheap because based on what I was seeing from the early pack openings, they are not short printed. They're not hard to pick up. Just pick them up when the set drops. These cards are probably going to be vastly cheaper when the set drops. This is a good engine as well that I think has, at the very least, Lordly Load is just a really good card. As we've seen with like Fiendsmith Brews, Lordly Load has flexibility with a lot of decks, being able to summon like Dippity or just any like normal monster that maybe a deck would rely on. Like I could see Lordly Load being ran in like dinosaurs to summon like Frostosaurus from the deck. So I would highly recommend picking up these cards when the set drops. Just get your Primite engine now, so that way, you know, you have it for the future. Maybe you don't plan on playing it right away. You might not ever play it at all, but pick them up while they're really cheap, because the further down after this set we get, if the engine continues seeing success, it's going to start going up again. Now on the topic of Canine. I know, I feel like we're only ever talking about Canine or Yummy on here. We're never talking about Draco Tail. Probably won't either, because the Magistus support is dropping in Monster Mayhem, and that's really what the Draco Tail deck is going to be playing, and that stuff's probably going to be fairly cheap on release. So if you want to play Draco Tail, pick up your Magistus support from the Monster Mayhem, and pick up any other pieces that you might need. They did get some reprints in Monster Mayhem, but I don't think all of them were reprinted. So if you're planning on playing Draco Tail, pick up your Magistus stuff in Monster Mayhem and pick up maybe the cards that weren't reprinted. But K9, K9's fucking up the market, man. Like, if it says the number 5 anywhere, it's shooting in price. So K9 has now started going towards Adreus, Keeper of Armageddon. Can't remember the last time this card was actually relevant to format. 3 printings, 1 secret rare from Generation Force, 1 star foil from Battle Pack Epic Dawn, and 1 rare from Battle Pack Epic Dawn. The most expensive version is, I believe, the star foil, funny enough, because they're all getting bought out. But the star foil, it says market price $1, but I bet you if we click on this right now, it's like, yeah, it's like $20. So for those who don't know what this card does, 2 level 5 monsters once a turn. You can detach an Xyz material from this card, target one face up, card your opponent controls, destroy it. That's it. It's not quick effect, but it is just spot removal. It's a quick rank 5 that you can make to cause some spot removal. And again, K9 just immediately was like, yep, I want that. But we are not done there, because Tyrus, Keeper of Genesis, is also seeing buyouts, which in turn is causing price spikes. Yeah, another rank 5. It has a secret rare from Generation Force, which is up to like $20. It has 2 printings from Battle Pack Epic Dawn, which are about the same price, $8, $9, $10-ish. The Battle Pack rare still has 36 listings though, so you might want to pick that one up now before this is like $20, because these 2 are almost bought out. But again, it's another rank 5, and it's getting bought out. For those who don't know what this card does, 2 level 5 monsters. Its effect can only be applied or activated while it has Xyz material. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects. At the end of the battle phase, if this card was attacked, target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy that target. During each of your end phases, detach 1 material from this card. So it's like Baguska. It lasts for 2 turns until it's useless. But again, another rank 5, more spot removal. So it's like K9 just is like, if it's the number 5, they want it. So I don't know how worth it is picking up these 2 cards. I'm sure more listings will populate soon, but we'll just have to see. The K9, like I said, is running amok through the third-party market because everyone wants to experiment with anything that says the number 5 on it, because the deck just wants free summons. It wants free utility. That being said, the deck is planning on being played, for the most part, with the Vanquish Soul deck. K9 will most definitely be an engine, so I highly recommend picking up the K9 cards when the set drops, just because it will be an engine of sorts. Now, on the topic of K9 still, but let's talk about countering K9. As I just mentioned, K9 will be everywhere. Everyone will be running it as an engine, including yourself. So why not consider picking up Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries of any rarity? We're going to talk about the QCR and the Ultimate Rare because those are the highest possible rarities. The QCR coming in alternate art. But yeah, why not consider picking up Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries? Because this card, on paper, could be good in that format. If everyone, including yourself, is running K9, why not go Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, reveal the rank 9 or even the rank 5 that gets application if your opponent uses monster effect from hand, and just get that shit out the extra deck. Just banish that shit. They have no way of getting that shit back, so just banish it. I think there is an argument to be made for Winter Cherries in the upcoming format. I'm not saying it is the go-to, but if everyone truly ends up running it as an engine of some sort, I think there's an argument to be had. Yes, we could probably just play Metaltronus and it'd be the exact same scenario, and that's also an argument that could be made. But I think Winter Cherries could have better application, because the moment you see a level 5 card, you just go Winter Cherries, banish the rank 5, and it's done and over with. Whereas Metaltronus, if you're going second, that Metaltronus stays in your hand, and if you activate a monster effect from your hand during their turn, they're going to punish you for it. Whereas Ghost Reaper Winter Cherries can nip that in the butt before it happens. So just a thought process. The QCR is $5-6-ish. That's not terrible. You know, the Ultimate Rare, which is the copies I have, are about $5-6-ish currently as well. We saw a spike for it a little while back when before Metaltronus. This was like the discount Metaltronus before Metaltronus got cheap as well. But this also spiked in price back then. This is when I picked it up, when it was like $6 way back here, and then it skyrocketed in price. But again, I could be wrong about this, but I think there is an argument to be had for Winter Cherries in the upcoming format where K9 will be running amok. You can just say, nah, we'll run Metaltronus, and that's fine, but just something to put under consideration. At the very least, you get very pretty cardboard for fairly cheap, and if people don't want to run Metaltronus, but they end up running Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, then you plus. And that is it for today's Market Watch. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. I didn't really have a whole lot to talk about, just simply because the Monster Mayhem hasn't dropped yet. We've only gotten the sneak peek pack openings, and that's like 2 hours old as of recording this video, so the prices haven't really seen an effect yet. But I imagine we will see the prices get heavily affected here by next week, and I will be, of course, talking about it all again that week. But again, let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and also let me know what cards I should talk about in Market Watch next week. Don't forget to leave a like on this video, and if you're not already, consider subscribing to the channel for more competitive-based content. But with that, I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!